Welcome to the Retirement Made Easy podcast, a show created to be your go-to source for straightforward retirement advice. Best of all, it is presented in a language that you can understand. Are you ready for some straight talk on retirement planning without all the fluff? Well, you found the right podcast. Here's your host, certified financial planner, Greg Gonzalez.
Hey, welcome to the Retirement Made Easy podcast. I'm Greg Gonzalez. Thanks for joining me today. This is episode number 188. And today I wanted to talk about some of the truths of retirement. I hate to use the word always, but they will always be the case. And this is, of course, my opinion. But as we're looking at retirement from a 30,000-foot view, sometimes I cannot emphasize certain elements of retirement planning enough. So I wanted to jump into those today because I wanted to highlight some of the most crucial factors of retirement planning that a lot of people tend to overlook. And that's just based on my experience and my opinion. So before I do that, again, we revamped our website, retirestrongfa.com. If you go there, there's a section called resources. You can download all of our free resources and we email those to you, like our budgeting tool, our 2025 tax guide, retirement secret sauce. All of that is there on the website, retirestrongfa.com. All right, today I wanted to talk about these truths about retirement planning. And truth number one is that your Social Security income, for most people that have a Social Security income, it is one of the cornerstones of your retirement income for the rest of your life. And so this, for the average person, there's a lot of studies on this, but typically it's going to represent approximately 20 to 30% of your total retirement income. Now, with that said, I certainly have clients that maybe it's a married couple and they can live quite well on just their Social Security income. Maybe they're of modest means, maybe they're debt-free. The Social Security income is enough. It makes up 100% of their retirement income. And maybe they're just doing Roth conversions or planning on those years ahead that the required minimum distributions will kick in, depending on their age. But everybody's situation is different. But Social Security for the average person is going to represent 20 to 30% of your total retirement income. That's a truth. Right at ssa.gov, you can read about that statistic. It's right there. They even, I don't know if they do anymore, but they used to put that right on your Social Security statement. Now, I want to highlight certain features of Social Security income that a lot of people overlook. Number one is there's a cost of living adjustment with Social Security income. So a lot of people that are collecting, they know every October, they announce what that raise is going to be depending on inflation. Last year, for example, it was 2.5%. The year before, it was 3.2%. And the year before that, in 2022, it actually went up 8.7% because inflation was so high that year, the previous year. And you might think, why is that important? It's important because having a stream of income in retirement that is indexed with inflation, and we can argue that it's probably not indexed very well, but it does have an inflation component to it. In the last 30 years, I actually looked at ssa.gov. You can look, okay, what year in and year out for the past 30 years, if you would have started your income, your Social Security check in 1994, for example, on average every year, it went up about 2.5%. And you might think, that's great. Some years it didn't go up at all. Some years that actually went down because maybe your Medicare Part B premium went up and there was no inflation. So when you factor what's called a geometric average, it's actually about 1.4% per year. And what that means is if you look back 30 years and you started your Social Security check in 1994 and it was $1,000 a month, basically every year, if you looked, okay, what would it be today? It would be about $1,500 just based on raises you got from inflation, from the COLA, cost of living adjustment. And so it went up 50, your Social Security check went up 50%. But if you would have started your pension, let's say you have a corporate pension, and it was $1,000 a month in 1994, guess what? It's still $1,000 a month because typically private pensions do not have a cost of living adjustment. That first check you get, it doesn't get any bigger. There is no cost of living or inflation component to it. It's a fixed check, fixed monthly check for the rest of your life. So would you rather have Social Security that actually does have that cost of living adjustment component to it, or a private pension that's a fixed amount for the rest of your life? I'd rather have the Social Security check. And a lot of people overlook that. And in delaying that Social Security benefit, and I'm not telling anybody specifically, hey, you should delay. Some people are best off taking it at 62. I think we can all agree. And other people are going to be better off waiting. And by waiting, you're getting deferral credit. In other words, it's every month you wait past your 62nd birthday, your Social Security check is going to go up a little bit. And so if I'm going to delay something that is going to be bigger in the future, plus it's got an inflation component to it, there's some value there. The other advantage that Social Security has over other sources of retirement income is that currently part of it, for everybody, up to 15% of it is tax-free. For some people, they're in a low enough income situation where none of their Social Security is taxed. The way they tax Social Security, and they've changed it throughout the years, even they've talked about right now, the new administration is trying to stop taxes on Social Security income. Most states do not tax Social Security income either, whereas a lot of them do tax IRA withdrawals and sometimes pension income. It just varies state by state. But that's one benefit of Social Security income is it's got that tax favorability component, whereas the same might not be true for your IRA and 401k withdrawals and possibly pension income, whether it's a private or public pension. And we have a software at my firm at Retire Strong Financial Advisors where we basically run different scenarios. We call it scenario analysis of, okay, if you started your Social Security at this age versus by waiting a little bit and assuming there were some cost of living adjustments along the way, what is your total projected lifetime income, lifetime Social Security income? And if it's a couple, your combined lifetime Social Security income for many people, if they live long enough, you're looking at, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million of Social Security income. And really what it comes down to is if you live long enough, this can really, really add up to a big number of total combined Social Security checks that you've received over the years. And we've started to do Social Security workshops at libraries in the St. Louis, Missouri area. And sometimes, and I think a lot of the stuff that we talk about during the workshop is eye-opening to people because they don't understand the magnitude and how much of a role Social Security will play because of the elements that we talked about, because it's of the tax favorability, because it has the cost of living component to it that it can go up so substantially over time. For example, just looking back, 1975 to 1995, if you would have received a Social Security check starting in 1975 and all the way for 20 years to 1995, the geometric average would have been 4.65%. So meaning you could have expected it over time to go up about, on average, 4.65% per year. That's significant. A lot of people don't get 4.65% raises every year. So having a Social Security check that's going up that much, that's meaningful. And then switching gears to the pension, okay, if you've got a pension, let's say it's a private pension that's $1,000 a month for the rest of your life, and then if you pass away, it does have a spousal continuations. They call that a joint and survivor benefit. So it continues for your spouse $1,000 a month. That $1,000 a month is fixed. There is no inflation component to it. Again, this is most pensions. So let me put it to you another way. Let's imagine you had to work between now, when you retire, and the rest of your life, the next 30 years. We're going to pay you $1,000 a month, and we're never going to give you a raise. It's $1,000 a month. You come in, you do the work, but we're never going to give you a raise during that time period for the rest of your life. It's $1,000 a month. You would probably say that doesn't sound like a good deal at all. So that's the risk with some of these pensions that are a fixed amount for the rest of your life is your costs are going to be going up. If you've gone out to eat or you've gone grocery shopping, anytime recently, the prices of everything have seemed to be going higher and higher. And trying to make it on a fixed income with 30 years of rising living costs in front of you, that's tough. Now, the other thing, I'm going to circle back to Social Security income and how some of it's not taxable. And the formula, we can put a link in the show notes, is called provisional income if you want to try to calculate that on your own. Sometimes, as I've mentioned on previous podcasts, doing Roth conversions, it might cause your Social Security to become more taxable. If you take IRA withdrawals, certainly it can cause more of your Social Security income to be taxable. But let's assume that this new tax law did pass. And I know President Trump has been a big advocate of stopping taxes on Social Security income, tip income, and overtime income. Now, not trying to make this into a political debate, whether stopping taxes on Social Security is a good thing or not, and whether it's going to be to the benefit of the country or not. I'm not trying to take one stance or the other here. I'm just trying to say, if you did eliminate taxes, federal income taxes on Social Security income, what we do for clients, we can actually project it out. So we project year in and year out how much it would save them. And I had a client that asked that question recently. They said, okay, what if just tomorrow they eliminated taxes on Social Security income? How would that impact us? It was about $5,000 a year. And they were in the first year of retirement. So they said, okay, $5,000 a year for the next 30 years, that's $150,000 that we would save in tax dollars. They're like, wow, that's significant. So that's my next point here. As far as Social Security income being a very, very crucial component to retirement planning and really understanding why, but also taking into an account that if in fact, starting next year, for example, that taxes on Social Security were eliminated for the next 30 years and throughout your retirement, that would be very significant. And the fact that then Social Security income was tax-free, just like Roth IRA withdrawals, oh my gosh, that can be very, very significant for many people. And I brought up Roth IRAs. And I know not everybody has money inside of a Roth IRA. But let me describe something to you. Let's say there was an account out there that would grow. You could invest it however you wanted to. And it's all that growth is tax-free. And then when you pass away, that account has the ability to continue to grow tax-free for the next 10 years. And you can pass that money to your children, to your loved ones. And that account has the ability, again, to grow for 10 more years past your death, tax-free. Can never be taxed. Uncle Sam cannot touch that money, or the growth, or the dividends, or the interest that it earns. And best of all, while you're retired, you can invest this account, of course, however you would like, and some choose to invest this type of account in a way that it provides tax-free income throughout your entire retirement. Tax-free. You can take withdrawals from this account. What I just described here was a Roth IRA. And of course, income in retirement is great. Any type of retirement income is fantastic. But tax-free retirement income is even better because you get to keep all of it and you don't have to pay any of that tax-free income to Uncle Sam. And that's a simple truth. And that will always be the case, is tax-free retirement income versus taxable retirement income. Side by side, I'll take the tax-free all day long, and so will you. And the last thing about the Roth IRA, and this is one of the best features out there, is no one can ever force you to take withdrawals out of that Roth IRA during your lifetime. Okay, the next truth I've thought deeply about over the years. And I'll try to explain my rationale, my thinking on this the best I can. If you're getting on an airplane and you're taking a flight across the country, maybe to visit friends or family, maybe you're going to a conference, typically you'll notice that there's not only a pilot, there's also a co-pilot. And if you dig a little deeper, the FAA actually mandates that pilots employed by commercial airlines, and they call those Part 121 Airlines must retire by 65. Now, after they retire, they can do something else. They can be flight engineer or something else, but they can't be a pilot past age 65. Now, there's probably a reason for that. We're not going to dig into that, but you will never get on a commercial airline and not see a co-pilot sitting there next to the pilot. Why is that? Because there's what's called key man risk. So if something happens to that pilot mid-flight, you've got someone that is competent, that is capable to carry out a safe landing. I would argue that co-pilot is just as important as that pilot. Together, they've gone over the flight plan, they're prepared, they know the destination, and most importantly, they work together. So I would encourage you, switching our thought process towards retirement planning, that oftentimes we find that both spouses are not, if it's a married couple we're looking at, that both spouses are not engaged in the planning that it takes. And you have what's called key man risk. If something happens to that person that does all the planning and they don't have a co-pilot who knows what the flight plan is and can competently take over, disaster can potentially happen. Because that spouse that was left in the dark and was not working with the pilot, it's okay to be the co-pilot, but you want to make sure that your co-pilot is up to speed on everything. They understand the plan. And heaven forbid, if something happened to the pilot, they can confidently step in. Now, I have working with couples, working with people who are single, divorced, or widowed. I can tell you a lot of the people that are single, divorced, or widowed reach out to financial planners like myself, retirement planners, and they say, gosh, I need a co-pilot here. I need someone to work together in the pursuit of my goals here. I need a second set of eyes on my plan. I want recommendations. And other times, couples, one's the co-pilot, one's the pilot, and they can work together on a retirement plan, and they're equally engaged in the outcome because they're looking for success. They want to talk through things. But if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have a co-pilot, either your spouse is disinterested or you don't have a spouse, I would put a financial advocate in your corner, and we call that your co-pilot. So that is one of the biggest lessons I have learned over the years. When I look at all like the disaster cases, it's typically because that co-pilot was missing. And I'm not saying that all co-pilots are created equal. If you're putting a financial planner in that seat, so to speak, number one, they got to know their stuff and they have to care. And they have to bring value to the table, valuable recommendations and ideas. And I'm not going to sit here and say that all financial planners or retirement planners are created equal, because they're certainly not. So it might take some interviewing. And I know that that takes time, which is a valuable asset, but have someone in that co-pilot seat, whether it's your spouse, whether it's a family member, a friend, a loved one, or a retirement planner that you can work with ongoing. Then you don't have the key man risk that if something happens to you, the whole thing falls apart. And it was funny. I actually had a client, when I told that story, they said, that's why we've trusted you to be that co-pilot for our family. And he said, yeah, I could have put my brother in to be the co-pilot, but I don't like him knowing my business when it comes to my money and our goals, our joint retirement goals. So certainly we have to take into account confidentiality and privacy if that applies to you. And this is my last tip of the episode before I kind of wrap up. I don't know who I heard this from. I don't know if it was Dave Ramsey or Jordan Peterson or who it was that said this, but it was very enlightening. They said, whatever your goals are, keep those safe to your heart and only share those goals with people that are going to support you in the accomplishment of those goals, that are going to help you get closer, that are going to be supportive. Anybody that's going to poo-poo on your goals or give you reasons why you're never going to accomplish those goals or criticize you or judge you because of the goals that you've laid out, those are not the people that you need to share your personal goals with. Only share those goals with people that are going to help you accomplish them. They're going to be supportive. And that's some of the best advice I've heard in a long time personally. I have a family member that is just very, very negative and very, very critical of any idea you would ever share with them. And so I know, hey, I keep my goals, personal and business goals, family goals, spiritual goals, all close to my heart, close to my chest, so to speak. Because if I ever shared those goals with this person, they would just nitpick and criticize. And so the lesson here is only share your goals with people who are going to be supportive. And you don't have to share them with the world. Hey, if one of your goals is to retire this year or next year, or maybe it's a couple years in advance, we want to help you. My company is Retire Strong Financial Advisors. Our goal for 2025 is to help 100 people get a retirement plan in place so they can kind of look ahead with confidence and clarity to know that, okay, they're going to be on track. All the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. They've done everything to prepare properly for a successful retirement. And that's what we hope to accomplish by building a customized retirement plan for you. If you want to be one of those 100 people, go to our website, retirestrongfa.com. You can fill out the form and we'll get in contact with you that way. I hope this episode of the Retirement Made Easy podcast has been helpful. We'll see you next time. And remember, always dream big.
Content in this material is for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. The content in this material does not necessarily reflect the views of LPL Financial. This is a hypothetical example and is not representative of any specific situation. Your results will vary. The hypothetical rates of return used do not reflect the deduction of fees and charges inherent to investing. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments might be appropriate for you, please consult your attorney, tax advisor, or financial planner prior to investing. This is a hypothetical example and is not representative of any specific investment. Your results may vary. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices mentioned are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. There is no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance your overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect completely against market risk. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to take a required minimum distribution, RMD, in the year you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA. This information is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized tax advice. We suggest that you discuss your specific tax issues with a qualified tax advisor. Fixed and variable annuities are suitable for long-term investing, such as retirement investing. Gains from tax-deferred investments are taxed as ordinary income upon withdrawal. Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals made prior to age 59.5 are subject to a 10% IRS penalty tax, and surrender charges may apply. Variable annuities are subject to market risk and may lose value. Riders are additional guarantee options that are available to an annuity or life insurance contract holder. While some riders are part of an existing contract, many others may carry additional fees, charges, and restrictions, and the policyholder should review their contract before purchasing. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to take a required minimum distribution, RMD, in the year you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA. This information is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized tax advice. We suggest that you discuss your specific tax issues with a qualified tax advisor. Retire Strong Financial Advisors and LPL Financial are not endorsed by or affiliated with the United States Social Security Administration or any government agency. Retire Strong Financial Advisors and LPL Financial are not endorsed by or affiliated with the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services or any government agency.
Thank you for listening to the show today. Check us out at our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. And if you want some help from Greg, submit your questions at the bottom of the page or sign up for a 30-minute retirement coaching session with Greg. We'll see you next week.